Okay, in lesson 10A, we're going to start looking at population density. Population density is an example of a ratio or a rate where we're comparing two different things. Population density is a ratio of the number of people to the area of the region, and it's in units, is people per unit of area. Usually we'll think in terms of people per square mile. So how crowded is China compared to the United States? In 2010 in the United States, approximately 309,975,000 people occupied 3,717,000 square miles of land. In China, approximately 1,339,190,000 people lived on 3,705,000 square miles of land. Use this information to answer the following questions. A student calculates the population densities of China and the United States. He decides that China is less dense than the United States. Using your estimation skills, decide if you think this student's calculation is correct. Let's go back and look at the numbers. Remember, if we're going to do population density, we're looking at people divided by area. And in this case, the area is going to be the number of square miles. So let's look at the square miles first. The United States is about 3,700,000. That's 3.7 million square miles. China is also 3.7 million square miles. They're not exactly the same, but for practical purposes, 3.7 million, 17,000, 3.7 million, and another 5,000, they're about the same. But China's population is much, much larger. China has a population that's over 1 billion, whereas the United States population is only about 310 million. So I think this student is clearly wrong. If we look at the number of people divided by area, China is more dense. Now we haven't actually calculated the numbers, but we'll do that on the next page. It says calculate the densities per square mile of the Chinese and US population. So if we look at China first, China's population is 1,339,190,000 people. And we want to label this because labels make sure we do ratios and rates correctly. And the area was 3,705,000 square miles. Now, we can simplify putting this in the calculator by realizing that if there's 3 zeros here and 3 zeros here, we can divide that out. And when we put this in the calculator, so I've got 1,339,190 divided by 3,705. This is 361 people per square mile. Now, when we do the U.S., its population was 309,975,000, so 309,975,000, and its area was 3,717,000 square miles. Again, we can take off those. I put this in a calculator. 309,975, 3,717. In the United States, it's only about 83 people per square mile. So how much more dense is it if we do a ratio? 361 to 83. That's like 4.3 times more dense. For every one person in China, there's over 4 people per square mile in the United States. I was curious, so I looked up Angelina County. And this is also for the same year. This is for 2010. The population of Angelina County was 86,771 people. And the area of Angelina County is 865 square miles. We do 86,771 divided by 865 to the nearest whole number. That came out to be exactly 100 people per square mile. And that seems really reasonable. Obviously, some parts of the United States, if you're looking at New York City or Chicago or Houston, the population density will be much higher. But in other parts of the United States, it's going to be much less. We all know that if you look at West Texas, the population density will be much less than that of Angelina County. All right, this next part, we're going to look at some examples of proportions. Notice one person for every 4 square feet is the same as 0.25 persons per 1 square foot. All you have to do to get that is go ahead and divide. That 1/4 is 0.25. So 1 person for every 4 square feet is the same as 0.25 persons, 1/4 of a person in 1 square foot. It said, what would be the population density if 1 billion people each stood on adjacent 2 foot by 2 foot squares? And of course, 2 foot by 2 foot is 4 square feet. So that population density is what we have up above. There's 1 person for every 4 square feet, or we can write it in decimal form, 0.25 persons per square foot. Population density is a ratio of the number of people to the area. We already studied that. Population densities may be described proportionately to compare populations. And proportional means an increase or decrease based on a constant ratio. Just now picture the billion people each standing on the adjacent 2 feet by 2 feet square. So you can picture this in your mind. That's 2 feet, that's 2 feet, and the next person is standing right there, and the next person. Of course, you have to keep going in all directions. We're going to make a nice big square out of this. It says calculate the population density per square mile. All right, recall that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So 1 square mile, 1 mile by 1 mile is the same as 5,280 feet by 5,280 feet. So 1 mile squared is, if we do 5,280 times 5,280, we're going to get a really large number. I get 27,878,400 square feet. All right, we know that the population density, there's 1 person in each one of these square feet. There, in each one of those 2 feet by 2 feet, there's one person for every 4 square feet. How many people will that be if we have 27,878,400 square feet? This is people, and this X will be people. How many people will that be? If we cross multiply, we realize that's going to have to be exactly 27,878,400 divided by 4, because this is a 1-to-4 ratio. So that came out to be, let's do that, 27,878,400 divided by 4 is 6,969,600 people. Remember, this is the same as 1 square mile, that many square feet. So what we see is that one person for every 4 square feet is the same as 6,969,600 people for 1 square mile. That's extremely dense. We can't picture standing around packed together, one person in 4 square feet. But that's what the population density would be in terms of square miles. Most of the world outside the United States uses the metric system of measurement, so it's often useful to make comparisons between the American system and the metric system. Bangladesh has a population density of 1,127 people per square kilometer. Note, 1 kilometer is 0.62 miles. If you converted the density of Bangladesh to people per square mile, will the numerical value be larger or smaller than 1127? Well, let's look at it like this. Here is a square mile. A square mile is 1 mile on each side. Whoops. A kilometer is 0.62 miles, so a little over half a mile. So a kilometer might be this big. One kilometer. 1 kilometer is 0.6 miles. So they're telling us that Bangladesh would have 1,127 people just in this blue square. Obviously, then, if we do the population per square mile, the numerical value will be larger. There'll be more than 1127 per square mile, because we would have the same density, only now we have a much larger area, so it would be even more people. All right, that finishes this little video.